Chosen one, the approval has been given from above for you to enter a new phase. You have traveled for years with hidden struggles, patience, and faith. Now, you have been approved by unseen hands. With the seal of the Lord, brand new doors are suddenly opening in your life. While you wait, the decision has already been made above. It is only a matter of time before you move to the next level. From now on, obstacles will unravel in front of you and opportunities will follow you. Today, your destiny is unlocked. God has confirmed you. Don't just be a spectator, be part of the story. With your support, we will become a huge family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join us. Because nothing will ever be the same again. A divine sign is shining on you for all to see. Imagine a sturdy oak standing alone in a quiet field. Storms roll through, winds howl and try to uproot it, but deep beneath the surface, unseen roots grip the earth with a strength no eye can see. That tree stands firm not because it shouts or sways, but because its foundation runs deep, anchoring it through every trial. In life, there are souls who operate just like that, rooted, steady, and held up by something stronger than circumstance. There are journeys that don't require grand gestures or loud defenses. The real work happens out of sight, in the silent agreements between a heart and its maker. Disruptions, temptations, and distractions might circle on the outside, but a quiet guidance, call it the whisper of spirit or the steady hand of providence, rearranges every obstacle before it takes hold. Most never notice the detours and delays that could have become disasters, because these lives are led by an invisible compass pointing them safely around trouble. It isn't obvious from the outside. To the world, it might look like luck or coincidence. But deep down, something much greater is at work, a divine rerouting, like a shepherd guiding his flock away from unseen cliffs in the dark. Plots meant to throw the chosen one off course simply dissolve before they begin, as if the road ahead bends in favor of the faithful traveler. The plans of others, no matter how carefully built, cannot penetrate the shield forged by trust in something higher. While some people scramble to protect their position or chase after the next shortcut, the truly anchored don't need to panic. They're not restless because they know their path is kept. The roots of faith hold them steady when others lose their grip, and no matter how many storms rise up or how many hands try to steer them off track, a deeper authority keeps their steps sure. This is not about avoiding hardship. It's about standing so firm in one's purpose that outside interference is simply rerouted as water flows around the unmovable rock. People may wonder why certain doors close, why attempts to manipulate or distract never seem to work. What they can't see is the network of quiet miracles woven beneath the surface, altering outcomes before the need for explanation ever arises. While adversaries scheme, the Spirit rewrites the narrative, shifting the very ground under their feet. Every plot intended for harm becomes a lesson or a launchpad, never a dead end. The journey stays protected, not by force, but by favor. Bible tales, plot twists, life lessons. Subscribe if you're ready for more. Those who are called, who walk with that silent strength, don't waste time explaining themselves to every doubter or defending their place against every challenger. The truth is that their journey is insulated by unseen hands, every setback transformed into a setup, every interference deflected before it takes root. They don't rely on the approval of crowds or the favor of fickle people. Their supply comes straight from the source, and their protection is guaranteed by a promise older than time. So the world may keep watching, puzzled by how you keep rising, how you keep finding peace in chaos, and how you sidestep every snare laid in your path. But those with spiritual eyes will recognize the signs. You are not just surviving, you're being steered, supported, and set apart by a wisdom this world can't understand. Every unseen battle you faced, every plot that fell apart before you knew it existed, is proof that your life is not being lived alone. You are held, covered, and guided by roots that run deeper than any storm and by a hand that never lets go. Picture a well at the center of a small town. For years, folks would come with their empty buckets, drawing up cool water whenever they needed refreshment. It didn't matter who they were or how often they came. The well was always there, steady, dependable, giving without complaint. But one day, when the crowd arrived, they found the well covered, protected, and its living water no longer free for the taking. That's what happens when the spirit inside someone pulls back its energy from those who once leaned on it without thought. The people who used to rely on that constant strength, that gentle encouragement, start to feel the drought. They wander through their days, retracing old habits, hoping the comfort they once received will flow again. But the source has shifted. It's not dried up, it's simply moved beyond their reach. Like children returning to a tree that no longer gives fruit out of season, these seekers come back expecting the old bounty. They try the same words, the same tactics, but what fed them before now stands quietly out of sight. The warmth they depended on has been gathered back into the one who gave it, leaving the room colder and quieter than they remember. When a soul's light no longer shines outward for just anyone to gather, it leaves those who once depended on it standing in confusion. They search for signs, for familiar pathways, for echoes of what used to be, but the music has stopped playing. And while they may not understand why the song has ended, or where the melody has gone, the truth is that the spirit has been called elsewhere, lifted up, preserved for a higher purpose, no longer poured out for every passing need. Some will wait by the old well, hoping for another drink. Others will look for new places to find their peace. But what they must realize is that the comfort they're seeking isn't missing. It's simply being used in a new way, guided by the same invisible hand that pulls the tide back from the shore. The season has changed, and the one who once served as everyone's shelter has now been given a shelter of their own. And in that quiet transformation, a new chapter begins, not just for the giver, but for all who must now learn to draw their strength from within, to search out their own living water, and to grow in the space left behind. The lesson isn't about loss, but about the blessing that comes when everyone learns to find the wellspring for themselves. Imagine an old key hanging on a nail in the hallway, once used to open a familiar door. Folks wander by, running their hands over its worn edges, believing that if they just remember the right turn or the old routine, they can step back into a room they once called home. But when they reach for that lock, no matter how many times they twist and turn, the door stays firmly closed, the house silent, the light from inside now shining somewhere else. That's what it's like when people try to reconstruct what's already been transformed. They gather up little scraps, an old letter here, a faded picture there, hoping that if they lay it out just right, the old bridge will rebuild itself. With each attempt, the space between then and now grows wider, the echo of old laughter fading until it's only a memory on the wind. It's not about bitterness or anger. It's simply that the river has changed its course. What used to be a shortcut across has become a gulf no ladder can reach. People scroll through old memories, believing they'll find a map back to what was lost. But with every search, they find instead that the path has been covered with new growth. Just like a field left fallow for a season, the old ground is resting now, preparing for something new to take root. Those who once relied on the same patterns, the same signals, find themselves staring at a landscape they no longer recognize. The more they try to recreate what was, the more they realize the spirit has moved ahead, building something brand new in a place where the old keys simply don't fit. All the searching and piecing together in the world can't bring back what's already shifted by grace. And in that realization, there's an invitation, not to look back with regret, but to release what's gone and open the heart for what God is making new. The distance isn't a punishment. It's the gift of a new season, a gentle urging to let go of the door that's closed and watch for the window God is about to open. It's a strange thing, the way some folks will fish the same waters over and over, casting their nets in hopes of catching what's already drifted away with the tide. They build new boats out of old memories, tie knots with yesterday's string, and set out under a different name, believing maybe this time they'll return with something real. But no matter how many times they circle the lake, they find only ripples where the blessing once moved. Some try to mend broken bridges by sending word down familiar paths, not out of true love or longing, but to collect whispers, to gather rumors like pebbles in their pocket. Their search isn't just for connection, it turns into a competition, a masked ball where everyone wears a costume, trading names like playing cards at the table of old regrets. It becomes a dance in the dark, each step rehearsed, each smile measured, as if going through the motions could resurrect what the spirit has already led forward. They hope to snatch a scrap of the miracle, to clutch a shadow that's moved on, but their hands come back empty. The river has carried the boat to new waters, and the net they're dragging behind only collects weeds and water lilies, reminders that time doesn't wait for those unwilling to let go. God has a way of closing chapters gently, like a gardener pruning away what no longer bears fruit. Sometimes he lets the branches grow wild, then trims them back so new blossoms can come. The ones who linger in the orchard after the harvest, sifting through fallen leaves, may miss the tree that's already budding on the next hill. This is not punishment. It's the rhythm of renewal. Life isn't meant to be a game of hide and seek with blessings that have moved on. The gift is in trusting that what's been carried out of reach was always meant to make room for what's next. There's no prize for winning back the past, only a peace that comes from opening your hands and allowing God to fill them with the fresh seeds of a new beginning. Let the mask fall away. Let the game end. Release your grip on what cannot return and look forward to the sunrise that's already breaking on the horizon. For when you let go of yesterday's chase, you step into the promise waiting at your door, a promise that was never meant to be recaptured, only received anew. It's a peculiar truth. When the well dries up, folks who depended on its water start to realize just how thirsty they've been all along. In every garden, there comes a season when the rain stops falling, and what looked lush and green begins to wither. The borrowed shade that once shielded fragile roots is gone, and the tender places, once covered, are left open to the sun. That's when the cracks start to show, not from any storm, but from the missing hand that used to water what they wouldn't tend themselves. Some, instead of planting their own seeds and nurturing their own ground, rush around with empty buckets, hoping to catch a leftover drop from clouds that have already moved on. They patch up the dry earth with whatever they can find, stirring up more dust, chasing after a feeling they never learned to grow within. Like children pressing wilted petals back onto the stem, they scramble to repair what only true care and time could heal. But the lesson of the drought is not about finding another well or begging the sky to turn back. It's about learning to dig deeper, to reach the underground springs God placed in every soul. The restlessness that rises isn't a curse, it's a holy invitation to look within, to trust the Spirit's power to bring living water from places no one else can see. When the supply line changes, it's not a punishment, but a gentle calling to stop living on borrowed light and start discovering the lamp inside. The real healing begins when a person stops chasing shadows and lets the Lord teach them how to carry His flame in their own hands. The old supports may fall away, but the soul learns to stand, rooted, resilient, and ready for the blessing that grows when you tend the soil of your own heart. There's a sacred kind of withdrawal that isn't just about being by yourself. It's the holy hush before a sunrise, when the whole landscape changes color in the dark, unseen by any eyes but God's. When a person enters this deep quiet, it's not for hiding or escaping, but for becoming something new from the inside out. It's as if the soul steps out of its old suit and puts on something tailor-made by heaven itself, without fanfare or spotlight. During this hidden chapter, everything familiar is quietly rewired beneath the surface. The habits, the labels, the titles that once seemed so permanent, they're set aside like yesterday's clothes, making room for a different kind of strength. What used to matter loses its grip, and the heart is quietly realigned to withstand tomorrow's challenges. Looking for inspiration and intrigue? Subscribe and start your quest. This is the season when God isn't polishing you for the world to see. He's forging you in silence for what can't be seen. The outside might look still, but on the inside, it's like iron being shaped in the fire, a quiet forging for a strength that's meant to last. No applause, no audience, just the gentle work of the Spirit preparing you for things only He can see down the road. So if you find yourself in that quiet place, cut off from the noise and the rush, don't mistake it for absence or loss. It's divine preparation, your spirit being fitted for the weight of a blessing that's coming. The world may not notice the transformation as it happens, but when the doors open again, you'll walk out unrecognizable, carrying a power and peace that was born in the quiet, forged by the hand of God alone. Just like climbing a long, winding mountain path, real growth isn't a straight, sunny stroll. It's a journey with sharp turns, sudden fog, and stretches where every step feels heavier than the last. There's a mysterious way that deeper strength shows up wearing the clothes of tiredness, and as purpose becomes brighter, The places you once called home can start to feel strangely unfamiliar. It's as if God calls you to step out of the busy crowd and walk alone with Him up a trail no one else can see. Sometimes, the road upward means you're the only one walking it. Solitude isn't a punishment, it's the sacred space where your spirit and your calling start to agree with each other. Progress doesn't always come with celebration. In fact, many times it feels like you're leaving the known behind, walking away from comfort so you can discover who you're really meant to be. That tension you feel, the pull between pressing forward and longing for what's familiar, is the holy stretch that grows you. Just as a seed has to split open underground before it ever reaches the light, your breakthroughs are often born in places that look lonely, even to you. It's uncomfortable, but it's on purpose. God lets you outgrow your old surroundings so your soul can fit the promise He's preparing. If you're wrestling with fatigue that sleep can't cure, if your new clarity makes old routines seem out of place, take heart. That's a sign you're outgrowing what once contained you. You're not broken, you're being rebuilt. The tension is proof you're in transition. Trust the process, even when it's unsettling, because God never wastes the wilderness. Every step you take is carving a new path not just for yourself, but for every soul watching you make the climb. It's a lot like the way a shepherd knows when to pull his flock from the edge of a storm. Sometimes you don't see the lightning, but you can feel the change in the wind. What others might call hesitation, God often calls discernment. There's a built-in alarm system, not in the mind alone but in the spirit, that rises up and nudges you away from places you don't belong. When plans fall through at the last minute, when a sudden urge keeps you off a certain road or makes you close your door instead of heading out, that's not failure. That's divine guidance steering you clear of unseen trouble. It's wisdom dressed up as inconvenience. Those butterflies in your stomach, that heavy feeling in your chest, they're not here to torment you, they're here to turn you around before you get caught in the rain. It's the Lord whispering, "Not this time, not this way." And just like a good parent would grab a child's hand before stepping into traffic, heaven puts up gentle roadblocks that only make sense in hindsight. Intuition isn't just some old wives' tale, it's the spirit and your body teaming up to protect what's precious in you. So don't let anyone make you feel ashamed for listening to that quiet voice inside. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's not avoidance, that's an act of love for your own soul. Even when you can't explain it, trust that nudge. It's God rerouting you for your own good, setting you apart, keeping your heart covered. Sometimes your greatest defense is simply the ability to pause, to sense what others overlook, and to step aside just in time for the blessing you can't yet see. In this journey called life, you're bound to notice all kinds of folks around the campfire. Some come empty-handed but expect to be fed by everyone else's flames. Imagine a gathering where a few just stretch out their hands, always hoping to soak up the warmth without ever adding a single stick to the fire. These are the folks who never bring fuel, only need. They keep close, not out of friendship, but because your light feels good against their coldness. Then there are those who want to play conductor in everyone's orchestra. They slip on the mask of opportunity, acting as though every path they offer is a gift, when really it's a maze designed to keep you marching to their tune. Their invitations seem golden, but the fine print always serves their agenda. It's not about sharing a meal, it's about being the one who dishes it out, making sure you sit at the spot they've chosen for you at the table. There's another sort, the ones who stand just outside the glow, peering in with longing. They're drawn to the light of your transformation like moths to a lantern on a dark country road. They want what's shining in you, but they're not ready to gather their own kindling or face their own darkness. They hope that by lingering close, some of your change will rub off on them, as if standing near a garden could fill your basket with fruit without planting a single seed. And don't forget the watchers, the quiet ones at the edge, clipboard in hand, taking notes. They aren't just admiring, they're measuring. They watch the direction of your flame, studying which way the wind blows for you, planning to ride that same breeze when the time feels right. They're not here to grow their own fire. They want to catch your spark and set their own ambitions alight, hoping to climb higher on the back of your breakthrough. But here's the good news, beloved. In the midst of all these shifting faces, God teaches you to tend your fire well. The lesson isn't just about protecting your flame, but also about recognizing the intentions of those who gather round. Some will come only to warm their hands, others to control the kindling, a few to mirror your glow, and some to profit from your light. But as long as you keep your eyes on the one who provides the fire, you don't have to be afraid of those who crowd the circle. Let every encounter teach you discernment. Don't let anyone siphon your strength or rewrite your journey. The true miracle isn't in being surrounded by a crowd, it's in burning steady through every season, whether the audience is clapping or applauding, imitating or calculating. Your flame is sacred because it was lit by something eternal, not borrowed from the crowd. And that's why, no matter who draws near, you remain unshaken, a beacon in the night, lighting the way for those willing to build their own altar and tend their own holy fire. There are people in this world who act like fishermen on a quiet lake at sunrise. They don't shout or splash. Instead, they pick their bait carefully and cast their lines in silence, watching for the slightest ripple. With gentle patience, they study the waters, waiting for a moment when someone's guard drops, hoping for an easy catch. Their tools aren't always obvious. Sometimes it's a kind word, a borrowed smile, or a so-called chance encounter in the grocery store aisle. But make no mistake, every gesture is measured, every conversation carefully reeled out. Their intentions aren't about friendship or connection, but about entry, hoping to slip past the front porch of your soul and wander through rooms where only trust should be allowed. These folks craft their stories like actors learning lines for a play, rehearsing just how to look concerned, how to drop the right word at the right moment, all the while keeping an eye on the door for when you'll let your guard down. Yet, what they don't realize is that the spirit has its own security system, something stronger than any lock and key. When you've walked through the fire, when you've learned how to recognize the shadow behind the handshake, your heart develops a kind of radar, an inner alarm that goes off before trouble even steps on the porch. Sometimes it feels like a nudge to take a different route, sometimes it's a gentle whisper to stay silent, or a sudden urge to step back when everything on the surface seems perfectly fine. It's not always easy to explain this kind of wisdom to folks who haven't been through it. To others, it might look like you're being distant or hard to reach, but what they don't see is the quiet strength it takes to trust your own knowing. The spirit's protection is subtle. A closed window here, a locked gate there, a feeling that keeps you home when everyone else is out looking for company. And while the world may never see the schemes being spun in the shadows, you know the truth in your bones. There is a promise that comes with walking this path. What was once meant for harm is turned into your armor. Where others try to slip in through flattery or pretend concern, they find themselves stopped at the threshold, unable to enter the sanctuary you've built with hard-won faith and discernment. And as you walk forward, step by step, it becomes clear that no matter how clever the disguise, no mask can fool the wisdom born from walking hand in hand with the divine. Imagine a shepherd guiding his flock at dusk, moving them away from hidden valleys just as the wolves begin to stir. It might look like a sudden turn on the hillside or a pause that makes no sense to anyone watching from afar, but behind the scenes, every change in direction is a quiet act of care. In the same way, life sometimes shifts your plans or places unexpected nudges in your heart. A missed phone call, a chance meeting that never happens, a message that doesn't go through, and none of it is random. There's a wisdom at work, a hand on the tiller when the seas start to churn. These aren't just accidents or technical glitches. They're signs that there's a watchful eye guiding you through unseen channels, keeping you clear of entanglements that could slow your purpose or muddy your spirit. Just as a lighthouse beams only for ships meant to find the shore, sometimes the online path lights up for the right souls and dims for the ones who would bring only confusion. While the world scrolls and searches, thinking everything is open and exposed, a higher order quietly resorts what is seen and what is hidden. Old friends looking to disrupt, old patterns hoping to return. They find themselves lost in digital fog, unable to pierce the boundaries set by divine intention. Meanwhile, doors open for those who come with honest hearts, and the message meant for them reaches its target with perfect timing. This isn't just good luck or chance favor. It's the deep care of a loving presence that blocks the wind when storms gather and clears the path when it's time to move forward. Even when you don't see it, every missed connection, every glitch, every sudden urge to take a different path is a thread woven into the safety net beneath your feet. That's what happens when your journey matters to something greater than circumstance. Your steps are covered, your story is protected, and every detour is a new doorway shaped by grace. Picture a single stone tossed into a still lake at sunrise, the circles spreading far beyond where the stone fell. When genuine change takes root, it's not just one life that shifts, the entire landscape starts to move. It's like a melody rising in a quiet room, stirring something awake in every heart within earshot. Folks who once walked by without a glance now pause, drawn by the evidence that real growth is possible even after seasons of drought. In these moments, the air itself seems charged. Conversations begin to carry new questions. Relationships are reordered as people quietly wonder if they too could step out of old patterns. It's more than curiosity, it's a stirring in the soul, an invitation to reflect on what's been settled for too long. Neighborhoods, workplaces, and families all feel it, a shifting of old routines as the winds of change sweep through, whispering that there's more to life than what's been survived. Just as the rising sun forces every shadow to move, authentic transformation exposes the cracks in everyone's story, not to shame but to spark a hunger for light. The world notices when something real takes place, and even those farthest from the source find themselves nudged toward new beginnings. This is how a single breakthrough becomes a call, echoing not in empty halls, but in the hearts of everyone who dares to listen and believe there's a new way forward. Imagine someone trying to plant last season's seeds in ground that's already blossomed with a new harvest. What once grew so easily now finds the soil unrecognizable, and every familiar trick loses its power. When transformation truly takes hold, it closes doors that can't be reopened with old keys. The rules have shifted. Where there was once a way back, now there's a threshold no one can cross unless they too are changed. This isn't just a matter of stubborn willpower or setting boundaries, it's as if the very climate has changed. What used to work, guilt, flattery, or subtle manipulation, now bounces off a new resilience like rain on a tin roof. The light within the transformed soul grows so intense that old cycles and players can't survive its brilliance. Pursuers find themselves lost in a territory they no longer recognize, as if a river they once swam has changed its course and left them stranded on the wrong shore. The relentless effort to recover old influence becomes a lesson in futility. Instead of closing in on the person who's moved on, seekers run into invisible barriers, gentle but unyielding walls that remind them the past is no longer accessible. The journey forward belongs to those willing to evolve, and in this new chapter, only those with open hands and honest hearts can walk beside those who have risen beyond yesterday's limitations. Picture the sun rising over a dark valley. When true daylight arrives, there's no longer any need to fight off the shadows. Problems that once demanded constant vigilance dissolve in the brightness, powerless to linger where the light is strong. What used to require armor and constant guarding is now rendered irrelevant by a presence that is simply too bright to be touched. This is the shift from surviving to thriving. Instead of bracing for battle or preparing to shield against every attack, the new energy simply radiates. Like a beacon on a hilltop, it sends out warmth and clarity in every direction, making it impossible for confusion or negativity to even approach. Where the past was spent building walls, now every step forward is marked by a kind of spiritual confidence that changes the atmosphere before trouble even has a chance to start. No longer defined by the need to push back against resistance, the journey becomes about occupying space with grace and assurance. The new reality isn't about outsmarting the darkness, but about carrying enough light that darkness loses its meaning. In this chapter, victory isn't found in defending ground, it's found in claiming it, simply by showing up and letting that divine radiance speak for itself. History's greatest dramas began here. Subscribe to see how it all unfolds. Imagine a tall oak tree standing at the center of a storm. When the winds howl and the rain pours, the tree does not run or hide. Instead, it stands its ground, growing roots so deep that, in time, the very storms that once threatened to uproot it become nothing more than passing weather. Its strength is not measured by escape, but by outlasting what once seemed impossible to survive. This is the heart of true transformation, not simply dodging trouble, but maturing beyond its reach. The narrative shifts from dodging obstacles to becoming so anchored in purpose and spirit that the old problems lose their power. It's not about racing away from threats, it's about rising above them, becoming someone for whom those old worries no longer fit. Think of a candle in a dark room. It doesn't need to explain why the darkness fades when it is lit. It simply shines, and the shadows retreat on their own. That's the quiet power of spiritual evolution, where fear, anxiety, and old wounds lose their hold, not because we wrestle with them endlessly, but because we become a new kind of light they cannot cling to. The journey forward isn't about proving anything or offering speeches on how to find security. It's about standing steady, even when circumstances are uncertain, and letting that steadiness speak for itself. The heart learns to rest in a deeper current, one that doesn't rise and fall with every change in the weather. Instead of searching for the right words to reassure others, life itself becomes the message, written in acts of courage, kindness, and unwavering faith. Over time, those who watch will notice that old battles have simply faded from the story, not because they were pushed away, but because something greater was cultivated within. In this space, the spirit leads not by pushing or persuading, but by being a living testament to the peace and endurance available to anyone willing to grow roots where storms once raged.